All right, everyone, so let's go over the second problem. So this one is going to be on methods and control structures. Remember, control structures in Java are things like your loops and your conditional statements, your Boolean statements, etc. Those things help control the flow of the code to complete some sort of problem definition. So let's go over CheckDigit real quick. So again, I'm going to do the same thing here is I'm going to put them side by side just so I can look at the problem statement and the timer as I'm trying to write the solution. So within Eclipse, I'm going to create a new class and then I'll just call it test problem 2, doesn't matter, right? So now I'm kind of ready to start typing in code here. Okay, so CheckDigit, the first thing I want to do is just scan it real quick. So typically if they just give you a class, you don't even have to kind of read these verbatim word for word, right? You just check, okay, it's a class called CheckDigit. It looks like I have to write a getCheck method here. And then I have to write an isValid method here. And then we do have helper methods called getNumDigits, getDigit. Okay, great. So that's that. Cool. So now we go into the actual definition for getCheck. The first thing I can do is I could go ahead and get my method header in, right? And get my method already. So this is going to be part A. As you're doing this, make sure you're saving a lot because you never know what happens, right? If you have a power failure, if it's only a very quick one, then you can potentially go back in and have enough time. On the AP exam, on the actual AP exam, if something does happen, like with your setup at home and you just can't complete it because of that interruption, you are able to contact them and ask them to retake it in the later exam. So there are 2 dates, right? So the reason you want to take it on the first date is so that if something bad happens, then you do have that later date to actually do it. Okay, so now that that's ready, now I have to go check to see what it means to be a getCheck method. Okay, so complete that method, which computes CheckDigit for a number according to the following. Multiply the first digit by 7, the second by 6, the third one by 5, etc. The length of the method's int parameter is at most 6. Therefore, the last digit of a 6-digit number will be multiplied by 2. So it goes from 7, 5, 4, 3, 2. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Okay, so that's 6. So I'll go ahead and just write something that starts at 7. So int mult equals 7. Cool. And then we know that I'm going to be grabbing digits from the number. And so now I'm thinking, okay, but where is digit 1? Is it the left-hand one or the rightmost digit? And so that's where I'm going to continue reading the problem statement because they're usually pretty good about giving examples that help clarify those type of questions that are going on in my head, right? As I'm trying to figure out how to extract digits. So here is a more thorough example. If you pass in 283415 to getCheck, the algorithm here is going to go and take digit 1, which is a 2, and multiply it by 7. Digit 2 is 8, so multiply by that 6, right? So we know that there's some sort of loop, and we know that this number is going to decrement eventually. So I can start doing something like that. While that, I know that mult has to decrement each time. Perfect. Now, I'm grabbing digits from whatever num is. And the indexing here starts at 1. So if you continue reading through here, they remind you that you do have 2 helper methods, get number of digits and then get digit. So the reason we care about the number of digits in num is because that's the number of times we're going to perform, right, this iteration. So here's iteration 1 when the number is this one, and then iteration 2 is when we're looking at that second digit, etc., etc. So I'm gonna go ahead have another one, another variable that starts with digit 1. So I'll do int digit is equal to 1. Which digit am I on? And then this one is your multiplicand. So I want to go on until I hit the last digit. So really, I have this thing called get number of digits. So I'm going to go ahead and use that from my while loop condition. I'm going to go while digit is less than or equal to get number of digits in num. So for example, let's say that num has 4 digits. So digit starts at 1. So this loop is going to continue for when digit is 1, because 1 is less than or equal to 4. It's going to continue for when digit is 2, 3, and then 4. It stops when digit is 5 because 5 is not less than or equal to 4. So we know that that's going to work. I know the digit is going to increment each time. So I'm going to go digit plus plus here. Go to next digit. Next digit. And so now I do know that I have to calculate the total. So I'm calculating some sort of total. So I'll do that here. Int total is equal to 0. So now I think I can go ahead and get going with updating my total. So each time I'm going to go total is equal to total plus what? Well, I know I have to grab the digit. To grab the digit, I have to use the helper function because I don't want to do it manually. If you do it manually, remember, whenever they provide helper methods, if you don't recognize that there's a helper method doing what you are going to rewrite, you won't get that credit or you might lose credit. One of those. Either way, you cannot score 100% if you rewrite something that's already provided for you. So I'm going to go total plus. So it's typically you take your multiplicand and you multiply it by the digit. So I'm going to do get digit. I pass in the number and then the index I'm interested in, which is digit. So there you go. And now what else? I think that does it for our loop. So now I'm going to go ahead and double check to see what I'm trying to return. If you take a look at the table here, you know that even though the calculations is a big number, like 106 and 72, the return value is just the very last number. So to extract the last number from an integer, you just do mod 10. So here you'll do return total mod 10. So again, return the last digit of the total. And that's it for get check. So again, the more important aspects of this code is making sure that you're using the helper methods, get number of digits and get digit, and then just kind of going back and making sure that you're looking at the examples fully. The tables that they'll provide are going to give you a lot of information. Here, it helped clarify that my return has to be the last digit of my total, not the actual total. So now I can continue with part B. So part B is to write the isValid method. So I'm going to go ahead and copy paste that method header, which typically is at the end of that part, right? So there it is. And so now goes the long definition of what it means for this to return true or false. So the following table shows examples of the use of is valid. So for example, if 1592 is passed, then it returns true. Now the question is, why would it return true? Well, let's see here. The number 1592 is valid combination of a number 159 and its check digit. Okay, so as you're reading through, right, you're going to end up rereading a lot of things here. But the last thing here that is described is the check digit is always the rightmost digit of num with check digit. So the reason it's called num with check digit is because of the fact that the number here includes the check digit that's meant to be for that number. So for example, if the number is 159, if you pass this number 159 to get check, it's going to return 2. And so what we want to confirm is that the rightmost digit stands for the check digit, not check digit, the get check of the number to the left of that check digit. And so this involves extracting the rightmost number because that's the results. That should be the result of get check, and then getting the numbers to the left of that, which is the number that we're interested in. So just to kind of break it down, I'm going to use some intermediate variables. So here I'm going to do int actual number. So the actual number is all of the digits minus the rightmost one. So to remove the rightmost digit, typically, I think we've done problems like this. You divide it by 10. So you want to do num with check digit divided by 10. So remove the last digit because it's not part of the actual number. So remember, the last digit here is supposed to be the result of calling get check. So now the second one is, how do I extract the rightmost digit? And rightmost, well, I guess I'll call it int check is equal to. So now the question is, do I need to use that helper method get digit here? This is such a simple operation. I'm not really sure if I need to get it, right? But I'll go ahead and use it to make sure I get all the credit. So I'm going to do check is equal to get digit of num with check digit. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and risk it, right? So it doesn't matter too much. I already used them here, so I know I've shown them that I know use it. So I'm going to do mod 10 here because it's so much easier. We're going to do num with check digit mod 10. Last digit. So again, so the typical things you want to be able to do with integers is removing a digit and then extracting a digit. So here, this removes the rightmost, division by 10, and then this extract the rightmost digit, mod 10. So now all I have to do is pass this to my helper method, get check, see if it's equal to the check number. So I'm going to go int result is equal to get the check value of actual number. And then I'm going to do return result equals check. So if the result of manually invoking the get check method on the actual number is the same thing as the provided check digit, then that's going to be my result. So that was about roughly 15 minutes, but that also involved me kind of talking a lot to myself out loud. When you're doing this alone, it should go faster if you don't have to um, make sure you're explaining it to somebody, right? So explaining it to yourself can be much faster. The last thing here is, what do you have to do differently in the method is valid if the check digit is on the leftmost side rather than rightmost side of the number. So at this point, if you're running out of time, right? So this problem is so quick. If you're running out of time, then if you're gonna skip anything, skip, the later parts. Just kind of go through part by part from the beginning and then tackle the problems. Unless, of course, you read it and you're just like, oh, I can't focus right now on that problem, right? But as a general advice, just go from part A to B to C. If you don't complete something, then it would be the later halves. So then I'm going to go part C. This one will say part B. If it's on the left side, then you have to make sure you're extracting the leftmost digit to get the check digit. You have to make sure you're removing the leftmost digit when invoking get check. And so let's say I'm in a rush. That's all I'm going to say, right? So how you remove the leftmost digit and how you extract it, or how you extract the other numbers, those could be little details that you could add in here. But that's just an example way of me kind of like, okay, I'm going to go through as much of the code that I can go through. And if I'm going to skip anything, if something is going to not be as good, it's going to be the later half. So there you go. So this is a very good example of control structures and methods. So for this one, you were able to solve the problem simply by calling upon helper methods, get number of digits and get digit. That involves you knowing what type of parameters to pass into those things. And that involves you very quickly kind of reading the description of what a function does, what a method does, and just being able to use it, right? So for example, if I just explain to you what math that square root does, you can very quickly use it right away. And so that's what you're being asked to do here. And then for this one, you're just performing operations on numbers. They did simplify it by giving you the helper methods get digit, but you should know how to extract the rightmost digit, how to remove it. Those are kind of very typical coding bat problems. And then finally, make sure you're always saving your work, and remember to submit your answer, copy paste or upload the file. I think it's going to be much easier to just copy paste. Just copy paste. Unless your setup is weird, I don't see any advantage of using actual files. So copy here. Now you do want it to be saving somewhere, but by copy pasting, you don't need to know where it is exactly. Paste it way before the actual timer expires. You don't want to do it at 10 seconds before expiration or even 1 minute. Give yourself plenty of time. Even if you were just completing the last part, you know what? Just go ahead and copy paste ahead of time what you have or something while you're finishing it, just in case. And so there you go. Those were the two types of problems for the AP exam. Hopefully you guys are going through those problems. I think a lot of the problems I've given you now have worked a lot with array list. So on Monday and Wednesday, maybe we can focus on things that use a regular array. Thanks.